Hi, welcome back to Live and Breathe Horses at Centre Christi La Luz. So we're going to be talking about energising or engaging the hindquarters. One of my students, as I mentioned in a daily thought, one of the students asked about this, and the more I thought about it, I thought, wow, there's so much in that. So we decided to make this into 3 parts. So the most logical thing, I guess, to start is with the why. So I think that horses in nature, they do this on their own. The point is that when we ride them, obviously we're going to change their balance by sitting on their back, and we're going to put a lot of weight on pressure on what in effect is the weakest part of the horse. So the hindquarters is the engine, that's the powerhouse. That's what gives the support and the strength. So we want the horse, his balance is kind of horizontal, isn't it, in nature? So we want him to be more slightly uphill, engage his hindquarters and take his weight slightly back to compensate for the weight of the rider. And this also relieves pressure from the front legs. Horses that are ridden very much on the forehand, they end up with damage on their front legs, feet, shoulders especially. And when they're not correctly engaged, the back is also going to suffer. So that's basically the why. As I said, I think that horses, they do this themselves. It's not that we're teaching this to the horse. It's more to realise that it's us humans that prevent them from being able to doing it. So it's us that need to work on ourselves to get this right. So we're going to start in this first part just with a few exercises for the rider. These exercises come from centred riding, from the wonderful Sue Leffler from Canada. So we'll put a link to her below if you want to check out. She's an amazing teacher. She came here and did a clinic, and I'm hoping she'll come back at some point. So the first exercise is the grounding one. We actually did this in the warm-up video, so you can check back to that to see it. We might do a whole video and expand the topic of grounding. Actually, that's a good point. There's lots of items in this 3-part series that really, I think, warrant a whole video on their own. So we may expand on several parts of it, grounding definitely being one. So that exercise we did on the ground. You can take that onto your horse with that grounding point. Once you've massaged that, you feel where it is, to feel that in the stirrup. And that's very important, because as you ride along on your horse, this is a wonderful exercise to practice. Obviously, as the horse's hindquarters go up and down, your seat bones, hips, pelvis go up and down in movement, in rhythm with the horse. So as your hip comes up, your foot must come up also a tiny bit. So not that it's going to lose contact with the stirrup, just that contact gets softer. I like to think of it like you've got a lump of blue tack or something in between your foot and the stirrup. So you still get contact, but it softens a little bit. So it's a great exercise. Just ride round on your horse at walk, just with your horse walking on relaxed, and really get the feeling of that. And once you can feel that, then you can imagine from each seat bone or from each foot, whatever makes more sense to you, that you have a connection with either the horse's hip from your hip or maybe foot from your foot. I personally like to do the feeling from my seat bone to the horse's hoof, that you're picking them up. As you get that feeling of the small lift in each step, really feel that you can actually be picking up the horse's back foot, which is energising and engaging the hindquarters under the horse. Whatever visualisation makes sense to you, you can think of that just purely as energy, as going in a circle round between you and the horse. You can maybe think of it as little sparkling lights, or as an elastic band also. Just have a little feel what feels good to you, and go with that image. So that's the first one. The second one we're going to do, that you can also do first off and then on your horse, is just having the feeling that you're turning your centre. So you can imagine your centre to be whatever you like. Again, choose an image that makes sense to you. So either just a ball, or it can be the feeling of a ball of energy or light, or somebody said to me once, so like a washing machine going around. So whatever makes sense to you. So it's the feeling that as you move, something's turning. So try that on the ground first, just walking forward. And we're going to start with turning in a forward direction. And just feel how that goes. You know, as we're moving forward, it seems more logical. We want to turn forward. And then try the feeling of turning in a backward direction. So to get the feel of turning, if you just turn your hands around the wrists at the sides of your pelvis, just obviously from the sides of your centre, that you get the feeling of this ball turning in your centre. And just really notice the difference, what happens when you turn it backwards. So it's like the feeling of being on a swing. So when you swing on a swing and you want that impulse to push yourself, it's that same feeling of kind of pushing forward. So that's obviously going to really help your horse. You know, you feel the difference if you do this both ways, forward and backwards, on your horse. You should actually notice and feel that your horse goes more on the forehand or more up as you come more up. Yeah, like I said at the beginning, this is the most important part, is how we are. So it's our feeling. If we want our horse to be engaged and energized, we have to start with ourselves being engaged and energized, holding ourselves upright on the horse with poise and lightness. So yeah, I think that's about everything for the first part. So that's really focused on the rider, because that has to be the basis of it. So thank you for being here with us today, and we'll see you in part 2.